Hi everybody, this is Gary Fong and I'm standing next to the Sony Alpha 7 camera. It's actually quite an exciting camera because it's the very first full-frame mirrorless camera that's ever come out. And what's really neat about the mirrorless is that because they don't have to have a mirror or a pentaprism, they can make the camera so tiny and small and yet have a full-frame sensor. So it's kind of a leap in technology. Just to show you a comparison in size, I'll put the Sony A77 next to it. Let me pull these guys in closer so you can see it. So I'll put the Sony A77 next to it, and you can see how much smaller the Alpha 7 is. Even though it's small, you can put the full-size FL60, HVL60, FAM, something like that, the letters, on this camera, and you can have full system flash, wireless, and everything like that, just like the Alpha series DSLRs. What I really like about this 60 series of flash is that, of course, you don't have to turn and tilt the head when you want to shoot vertical or horizontal. Our light sphere, our new light sphere collapsible speed mount fits on it, as well as the Gamma series of diffusers that I've made specifically for the Sony flashes, as well as any of the previous light spheres. The sensor is exactly a full-frame 35mm size sensor. You don't want to go scratching that with sandpaper or anything like that. Now this lens mount fits only this particular lens line, which is for the Sony Alpha 7s. They also have an adapter, so you can put the Sony Alpha series of lenses. Now here's the top side controls of the Alpha 7. What I really like most is this one right here. This is the direct exposure override button, and you'll see that it's really closely located to the fire switch. So that's kind of neat because, as you know, you're going to be shooting looking through a video viewfinder, and the video viewfinder will allow you to pre-chimp or show you your exposure override or underride by simply turning the wheel. Now there's different modes up here. There's a panorama mode, there's different scene settings, there's a movie mode here, and then your custom presets, as well as your regular program, aperture priority, and shutter speed priority. Okay, so this is the back of the camera, and you'll see right here we've got histogram preview, and it's showing basically how the camera is metering for middle gray for the middle of the histogram. I think that's kind of interesting. Here are the control buttons, and a couple of the most handy buttons that you'll find. Number one is the function button. That function button right there, once you click it, allows you to change your ISO, your metering mode, your white balance, and your creative style, as well as your focus area and your focusing mode. Now what I choose is the autofocus continuous, and this is something that I can do on a camera like this, but not on a regular Canon or Nikon, because the continuous focus typically will throw you out of the spot that you've chosen. Autofocus with the S, the single shot, means that it'll lock once you've got your subject in focus, but it will not be responsive. And really the only way that you can use autofocus continuous is when you have a ability to track your subject with your autofocus. You see this thing right now is just kind of following my hand around. It's tracking my hand, and so the hand will be in focus, and now you can see the rear just went out, and now that green thing has just gone to the chair. Remember that what you're looking at right now is exactly what you would be looking at through the viewfinder, because the viewfinder is an XGA viewfinder, and it's got what's called an OLED sensor. The OLED sensor is so fast that you don't have any ghosting, you don't have that delay, so it's very, very close to optical when you're shooting. So let's go ahead, and I want to show you the different picture styles. So here's the creative styles, and these are neutral is the one I would choose for your everyday shooting. Now this one I've actually got a little bit underexposed, so right here I've got my fun knob on the top, and I can just change the exposure right there, which is really kind of cool. So it's what I call pre-chimping. On a regular digital camera you'd have to take the picture and then look to see how it came out. With this optical viewfinder, you're basically, because there's no mirror, because there's nothing optical, you can see the image and you can change the exposure as you want. But what's also cool is when you press that function and you go here, you can just do all these different things. Now again, neutral is the method of choice for shooting your regular shooting, because you don't want to add contrast or saturation. That you can punch up later in post-processing, but you can't decrease it once you've gone too far. So I would avoid vivid and standard, and sepia is kind of cool, and black and white is really cool because you can basically see your image pre-chimped in black and white as you're shooting, and I think that's really a cool feature. It's very inspiring to look through your camera through the optical eyepiece and actually see the world in black and white. But what's cool is using that knob on the top, you can see right here that I'm changing the exposure, and I'm overexposing it or underexposing it, and while shooting I can see with my eyepiece exactly what exposure I want. And maybe I think it might be a little bit too hot as a result of that white thing right there. I want to take it down, whatever. But you can actually basically make that adjustment while you're shooting on the fly, and that's a very handy feature. Now, going back to the function thing, I want to show you the okay, we've shown autofocus continuous, white balance, auto white balance. All of that is just basically underneath that functioning thing, that function button. The ISO is, you can put it on auto, and that will basically take you up to, and you can put the limits here. You can go 6400 or even higher than that. But this one's interesting right here, multi-frame noise reduction. This is basically like, it's like a high HDR type of shooting. So what happens when I shoot this, bang, 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 it'll shoot multiple number of shots, and that's really handy if you're shooting, say, real estate, and you're shooting like an open window and you want to see the surf in the window, but it's hopelessly blown out because it's so much brighter than the interior. Multi-shot auto ISO will get you the ability to kind of sandwich together a bunch of exposures into one. This is just regular ISO auto, and that's just, of course, a single shot, but it will pick the ISO for you, and that right there you can see how it's framing. So that would be more of a standard thing, and that's actually much faster way of shooting, obviously, because you don't have to take a whole bunch of shots. Now this is the drive mode, and it's not super fast. I think it's probably, it feels like 3 frames a second. I'll try it right now. We'll just go continue shooting, and I'll just hold the button down. So it's not extremely fast, but I do like the continuous shooting. It will follow your subject around, and you can basically go boom, 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 and follow the subject around. And so putting it on continuous or high-speed motor in this case is something that I prefer because the focus is so accurate. And that's basically that for the function ones. You've got your exposure flash compensation here. I would not touch that. I would basically, I don't know how that got set to there, but I'm always going to put that on 0. That's one of my big rules. And of course, you've got your ability to go white balance right here or change your drive mode. So right there, that one button takes you to drive mode, this one button. So again, you could go function and then to that, or you can just go white balance and quickly go there. Now the play button's interesting because when you play the last image, if you hit this button right here, it will send to the smartphone. So say for example you're scrolling through your images and you go, ooh, I like that one, let's send that one to the smartphone. All you need to do is push the function button. Now the function button sends to the smartphone while you're in play. It's not going to, of course, work while you're shooting, because while you're shooting it knows that the function button is supposed to give you different functions for shooting. But when you're in playback mode, you can go like this, hit the function button, and it'll send to your smartphone. And I think that's pretty cool, because your alternatives to putting images on your smartphone without this is you would have to take the card out, you'd have to stick the card into your computer, load it up onto your contact sheet, and try to send it out, and you know, to social media networking and everything like that. And this one just basically puts it straight to your smartphone, which is a new innovation I hope everybody adopts. One thing I'd like to do one of these days is if there was just a instant share to Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or whatever, that would be kind of a cool feature, and I think that would bring a lot of these cameras a lot of fans. So now what will happen is the camera will create its own Wi-Fi network, and you can see right here it'll give you the specifications. So if I go to the settings on my iPhone, I'm going to go back and I'm going to look for the Wi-Fi network, which is this one right here. See how it pops up on the bottom? And I'm going to go ahead and choose that one, and now I'm a member of this network. And that's kind of neat if you're out traveling or somewhere. You don't need to find a Wi-Fi place because this one creates its own Wi-Fi network. So right now it says it's sharing, and it will come up with some cool choices for you. But what you want to do is you want to go to the Sony app, and the Sony app is called Play Memories, and what will happen here is it will just go ahead and pull up all the different images that you've had on your memory card, and you can go ahead and upload them to your phone, and therefore from there go to social networking or text messaging or anything like that. Okay, so that's basically it for the Sony Alpha 7. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and thanks for watching.